This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? How are we? You are very welcome along to Friday night's late night agenda. The weekend has officially started and I hope that you're all in good form. Tonight we're going to go through, of course, what you expect me through. We're going to talk around where we're at with the situation with Alexander ISAK. We're going to talk about Luis Diaz. We're going to speak about Darwin Nunez. We're going to talk about Ugo Ekitike and all the usual stuff that you would expect. Appreciate you being here. I've got some stats and numbers to run through with you tonight as well around net spends and stuff like that. Again, want to thank everybody who took the time to watch the video that we put out earlier on today with myself and Mo Chatra from our friends at Anfield Index, talking about, well, the finances of how this summer is possible for Liverpool, and I hope you enjoyed it. It was very much a learning experience for me anyway, and again, I appreciate Mo giving up his time to have a chat with me. So let's get stuck into it. Load for us to get through tonight, and I've already seen the super chat in, so I might as well kick off with that. Zoshim Udine said, Craig, how confident are you the ISAK deal gets done? So, my friend, I came into tonight's stream with one thought in my mind. Go a bit easier on the Geordies. That's the thought process coming into tonight's stream. Just don't banter them too much because I feel like he's getting to them. So what I thought tonight was I would come in and just try to deal in facts as I know them. And how confident am I of the deal getting done? I would go as far as to say if he leaves Newcastle, I'd be very confident he comes to Liverpool. But I cannot guarantee you that Newcastle are going to sell. There's lots of softening up in their stance. There's lots of reports to suggest that there are finally numbers to make this happen. But ultimately, it's going to come down to a few factors. How much ISAK kicks up a fuss, what Newcastle's stance is with regards to bringing in potential replacements, how late in the window it gets, and a few other bits and pieces. Also, we have to look at our own financial side of this. Yes, there is a world where we could sign Ugo Ekitike and ISAK without having to sell players, but we've known all summer that player sales is going to be a part of this summer's window. So I'm quietly confident, but again, the final decision in all of this process rests with Newcastle. If they really don't want to sell and they just keep refusing to acknowledge, no problem. I think Liverpool will move on, and in all honesty, I'm not really going to lose any sleep over it. I'd love ISAK at the club. I really would. I mean, God, I think we all would. But I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. You know, we've done a great window so far. There's still more work left to be done. And let's see how this unfolds over the next few weeks. But one thing I do feel confident to speak about is the level of panic from the likes of Arsenal and United fans. I don't know if you've seen, there was a couple of posts doing the rounds that basically showed Arsenal fans begging their own club to cancel the Gyökeres medical to try to sign ISAK. I'm not joking, by the way. You can search this out for yourself. That is how worried that everybody is outside of our fan base. So I'm quite calm about it at the minute. I'm optimistic, but I'm not going to be arrogant about it. Maybe people feel I've already been arrogant about it. I don't know, but I'm calm about it in all honesty. Craig, why would Liverpool want ISAK when they have Ekitike and it's cost them 150 million? Do you feel confident we will sign him? So why we want him is cover for every position. So I think Ugo Ekitike dropped a hint today when he spoke about his own versatility as a player. So So he's come in, and I've no doubt he wants to be the guy. He wants to score the goals. But he's spoken already about his versatility and how he can play in multiple positions, or even play the number 9 in multiple different ways. So why would we want them? Well, look at it a different way. I've seen lots of people asking this question, but remember, Newcastle wanted to do the very same thing, right? Newcastle's plan was to bring in Ugo Ekitike to supplement their attack with Alexander ISAK. And Liverpool are clearly looking at it in the very same way. Arna wants great attacking options, different styles and different opponents will have us set up in different ways. We want to have strength from the bench. We want to have strength in depth. So the ability to play in that wider left role, along with the likes of Cody Gakpo, is a big part of this. And like I've mentioned, when the player himself came out and said that today, or yesterday, excuse me, that really gave me an indication of these conversations have already been taking place behind the scenes. And with regards to how confident are we to sign him, look, it'll ultimately come down to Newcastle's desire to keep or sell. I keep seeing a figure of £150 million being thrown around like it's nothing. I don't know if Liverpool get to that number. I really don't think we do. I think if Liverpool are to do business on ISAK, I certainly expect it to be a British record transfer fee, but 150 million seems a tad too far for me. But like I've said, I'm not Richard Hughes, I'm not Michael Edwards. I can't tell you where Liverpool's heads are with it, but the plan is certainly to still let it known that we're there if ISAK is available. So yeah, I'm finding it funny watching the amount of other clubs fans lose their shit over it. And look, I don't blame them. Joking banter aside, we are in a really good position. And already there's talk that this could be the best transfer window of any club in the history of football. And I know we're inside the Liverpool bubble. We, see everything we do as glorious. But let's be honest, I can't think of one that might match it. And even if we don't get ISAK, even if he stays at Newcastle, I fully believe that Liverpool will have their sights on another target. But my real intrigue here comes with the numbers. And not the numbers of the deal. Like I said to Connor earlier on when I was talking with him, Liverpool are going to move 4 players on, one of them being Diogo, who tragically passed. Then you've got Darwin, then you've got DIAZ, then you've got Federico Chiesa. So we're going to lose 4. At the moment, it looks like we're bringing in 2 if, let's say, it's ISAK or somebody else. So where my head is can we get away with that? Are we leaving ourselves short of bodies up top? Because yes, young Rio will certainly get minutes and he's impressing massively over the summer. That's grand, no problem with that. But how many minutes and how long? So I'm not sure exactly what I expect from numbers wise. Like if we were to get ISAK, is that the end of our attacking business, or do we look to bring in a younger winger? These are the type of questions that I'm interested in, but I don't yet know the answer to. And also, PSG aren't in for him, by the way. I know that, again, people are trying to spook us Liverpool fans, but to the best of my understanding, there's no interest at this moment in time from Paris Saint-Germain for Alexander ISAK. So, yes, they could have the money to make a deal possible, but there's nothing to suggest that they're going to make that deal. Right. A report from Spain has just said, Ken Diario has said, Trent's arrival at Real Madrid hasn't been as expected and it's already causing a concern for the coaching staff. The defender's one-on-one defending is a statistic that keeps Xabi Alonso awake at night. Okie doke. But hey, we tried to tell him, right? As Liverpool fans, we tried to tell Trent, this is the wrong move for you, bro. His decision, his future. But this doesn't surprise me one bit that we're starting to see this type of stuff come out. And it's only going to get worse for him. Jamal said, hey Craig, Rodrigo and Gay or ISAK and Fofana. So, I don't mean this to sound disrespectful, but it's a fairly silly or. Because we are going to get a centre-back no matter what happens. Because we have to get one. And I know that people are panicking at the minute because the focus has been on the attack. But Liverpool have it in the plans to get the centre-back. So you can take that out of the equation because it's going to happen. So in my mind, Jamal, we're asking Rodrigo or ISAK and Fofana. And whichever way that's dressed up, the answer would be ISAK and Fofana for me, bro, because we're going to bring in a centre-back regardless. I'd love us to bring in Mark Gay, even if Canade signs a new deal. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think the younger centre-back option is the one that's at least been spoken about a lot in the media. And again, pleasure to be able to say this, but I'm relaxed about it, because how could I not trust the process with what's happening this summer? The LFC Reaper, how are we, dude? Thank you for your comment. Said, it's fair from you, Craig, that you're going easy on them tonight, as Newcastle fans are a very sensitive bunch lately. Look, the thing that really winds me up about it is I don't think that you will find a non-Newcastle fan that's involved in fan content that has been more complimentary to that club and its fans than me. Every time I'm asked who I'd support if Liverpool didn't exist, viewers will know my answer has been ISAK. People have been having a pop at me lately saying, why are you going in on the Geordies? And the simple answer is, because they started it. I've only ever been respectful, only ever been kind towards them, because I genuinely have a lot of respect for them. But when they start making it about my nationality, about my appearance, about me personally, the gloves came off a little bit, and I realised how easy they were to wind up. Because I don't take any of this stuff personally. This is just fun to me because I'm enjoying the banter back and forth. But what really, 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 really surprised me is the lack of awareness of sarcasm. Like, people taking some of the stuff that I've said in these fairy tales or story time moments, or they take it like I'm actually being serious. And I massively, massively misunderstood how little people appreciate sarcasm or are aware of sarcasm. It must be a very English and Irish thing, or UK and Irish thing, because I thought I was making it clear I was taking the piss. But some people think I've basically tried to sleep with their sisters. It's nuts. But there's nothing I can do about that. I like the Geordies, as I've kept saying. This has all just been banter back and forth for me, because I don't understand why there's such an anti-Liverpool sentiment all the time. You know, if we're in for a player, all of a sudden we're destabilising them when we're trying to ruin Newcastle. That's not the case at all. Liverpool just see a great player and have respectfully tried to make this happen. And we haven't been seeing the Liverpool media really go in. The Liverpool fans, yeah, we've baited them. Liverpool fans have been putting the pressure on the deal. Liverpool fans have been talking it up a lot because the player wants it. But ultimately, if Newcastle take the money, it's going to be a record fee that's going to set them up. So, sincerely, I have nothing against the Geordies. And like I've said, I've only ever sung their praises until they wanted to have a pop at me. And when people come and have a pop at me, you know, the gloves are off. Are you 100% about the centre-back signing? Yes, I am. Absolutely staunch 100% that we're signing a centre-back. Now, I can't tell you who it is, but I can tell you we're doing it. Because why else would we have sold Kwanzaa? There's no reason for Liverpool to have sold Kwanzaa and not replace him. We sold him because we didn't think that he was quite there, and we wanted to see him go and develop elsewhere. That's why the buyback clause was in. But the plan was to go and get a centre-back between the ages of, let's say, 19 and 22, to come in to basically fill that same role in the squad that Kwanzaa was, but maybe one that we're a little bit more confident will get to where we need him to be sooner. So yes, Ibrahim Konate's situation, like I've said, has made this a little bit more complicated this summer, because the club don't want to move for any type of centre-back until we know what's going on with Konate. And I think we're going to get the result of that process soon. But honestly, can't tell you about strikers, can't tell you names, but I really, really think you've nothing to worry about with centre-back. We're not going to go into the season with Joe Gomez, who has had injury concerns, with Virgil van Dijk, who's, you know, played a lot of football, and with Konate, whose future's up in the air. There will be another one brought in. John, how are we, bro? Lovely to see you as well, my friend. Said, hello, Craig. I have a question. I'm used to player trades in all of the problem leagues in America. Why are there more cash deals in football in Europe? Thanks for helping me in my learning process. Why are there more cash deals? I think you have to look at the jeopardy that's involved. So I know tanking is a thing in some American sports that I don't really understand yet. But the jeopardy of potential European football or not, relegation and promotion. This is what drives teams' fear, basically, and FOMO as well. You know, clubs like Liverpool, clubs like maybe Arsenal, Manchester United in the past, they budget every year thinking we're going to get that Champions League money. So if they feel that others around are strengthening, money is the answer most of the time, mate. And I'm really happy, John, to see Liverpool kind of pulling a Bayern Munich, as in looking around the Premier League now and trying to get the best. Because that's the most expensive and most difficult way to do this, is to go around and try to cherry pick the best in your league, because you usually pay a premium for that. Wayne Paul said, I'm a Liverpool fan. Newcastle's a top club, but the people running it are idiots. So I feel like, and Newcastle fans, if there's any of you in the chat, would love your thoughts. I feel like they're doing Eddie Howe dirty at the minute, because there isn't the structure there for Eddie Howe and the recruitment team to be ready to move at the speed that's required in this transfer window. It feels like Newcastle are still playing catch up a little bit, and Eddie Howe is being tasked with doing almost too much. Eddie Howe, I'm sure, sitting down with any player, can convince a player of the project at Newcastle. Eddie Howe knows what he's talking about. Eddie Howe's a respected coach. And Eddie Howe now has a trophy at Newcastle and another Champions League qualification. But it's the ones that are doing the transfer business for him, I think, are leaving him short. And this situation with ISAK, it's going to be difficult for Newcastle, because if they keep him, well, if they do it at the expense of maybe bringing in some more targets to push them along, they're almost just treading water, right? So they've brought in Elanga, who's a good player, Premier League proven, and I'm sure will excite the Newcastle fans. But if you look back over the previous transfer windows in the last 2 to 3 years, Newcastle have been doing very little. So there was almost an expectation for them to kick on now that they got that Champions League football. But the situation with ISAK is stalling a lot of it. So normally you'd see these transfers drag out for the whole window, but I don't know if that's possible here for Newcastle. I think they'd have to make a decision quicker on whether to enter into conversations with Liverpool, because let's say Sesko is an option. That's probably going to be a £70 million option for Newcastle, with a £55 million player on top of that in Elanga. Still need to sort out the goalkeeping situation, still need to bring in a centre-back, and I'm sure Eddie Howe probably has a position or two more he'd like to strengthen in, but it's not from a want of desire from their owners to spend the money. It's the rules, the PSR. And that's why we've seen so many people now cry arse about that. Like, it seems like no matter what way football is set up to try and be sustainable, everybody always feels it's just done to benefit the cartel or the big six. And ultimately, there are rules in place, and we've had to have windows with very little business. Like, we're Liverpool, we just won the league after spending pretty much no money. So we've been clever, and we're reaping the rewards of that now with the way the owners are moving in the market and the precision with which we're moving. But all clubs have to make these sacrifices. And I do find it mad that some Newcastle fans are complaining about why we'd want Gyökeres and ISAK when they wanted to do the very same thing. So why is it suddenly a crazy idea for Liverpool to maybe do it? But when Newcastle were trying to bring in Ekitike, there was no issues with that. Everybody could see where they were going to be playing together, or everybody could see how they'd be utilised. I find a lot of it weird, but we are football fans. We're supposed to be hypocrites. That's our job. We're supposed to have one standard for our club and another standard for everybody else. So I kind of get it, and I enjoy it, as long as it doesn't get into toxicity. Stargirl said it's taken years for Liverpool to be able to spend this amount of money. We're a mid-club, instead others clubs moaning. We should think they can do it. Well, I have some numbers that I wanted to run through, and credit Sky Sports for this, and it's up on their article about Liverpool moving for ISAK and why it might be possible. But basically, they've done a transfer net spend since summer 2024. And who do you think tops that net spend since 2024? Which club do you think has the biggest amount of net spend? Because it isn't Liverpool, it isn't Chelsea, it isn't Arsenal. It's still Manchester United. Manchester United spent £376 million, recouping 94.7, giving them a net spend since last summer of £261.3 million. And it's that short-term thinking from some opposition club fans. And I get it. I don't understand all the business these clubs do. I don't keep track of every sale and every purchase Arsenal make or Chelsea make. But we need to be having these conversations in a balanced way. Liverpool are second on this list, by the way. Liverpool have spent £308 million, including Ugo Ekitike, and recouped £128.5 million, giving us about £179 million of a net. And we're going to bring in a lot more money from sales again. So, for me, Liverpool aren't doing anything extraordinarily dodgy or that's going to put the club at risk. We're just doing very good business. And usually, our transfer success rate is pretty good. Next on the list, and you won't believe who's third, by the way. You absolutely will not believe who's third. Gabriel said, Paul Joyce shut it down. Paul Joyce shut nothing down, mate. Absolutely fucking nothing. So, again, if you don't know what you're talking about, Gabriel, please don't bother wasting our time and trying to troll us in the chat. Paul Joyce said one thing, and I can show you Paul Joyce saying the very same thing about Florian Wirtz a few months ago. The very same thing. What happened there? You have to ask yourself, mate, in these circumstances, when journalists are writing stuff, what's their motivation? And what do you think might be the motivation for Paul Joyce to be, let's say, lukewarm on the possibility? Might it be, now, just hear me out, might it be the club briefing that so we don't look desperate? You know, again, you got to ask, what's the motivation, who's saying it, and why are they saying that? So let's keep moving. Back to my list. Third on the list is Spurs. Spurs. They have spent 256 million and 80 million has been recouped. Paul Joyce said the Wirtz won't join Liverpool. What happened next? He joined. He didn't say necessarily they won't join, but he did pour some cold water over the idea of it. So again, I don't tend to listen to the journalists that are being briefed by Liverpool because I can see through the bullshit. Because they have to make it look like we're not desperate. Same way Newcastle are out there briefing that they're doing everything to keep ISAK. Why? PR. They've got to sell to their fan base that this wasn't an easy process, that they didn't just roll over and have their belly tickled, and that they put up a fight. A lot of football is smoke and mirrors, and people that take everything every club says as gospel should just wise up a little bit, because there's a lot of bullshit that goes on. Zoidberg said, Yo Craig, as reported on the 17th, ISAK will be ours if he switches. I might be in Boston, but I have my sources. Stone Brothers of Fenway. Glad Hugo is able to join the lads in Hong Kong, a Stevie G fan. Yep. Great to see him over there, getting to mix with the boys already. So let's run through some of the stories from today. Now, I'm not going to go back over the ones that we covered in the morning video because football moves fast and this whole conversation is moving fast. So let's look at what some of the journalists have had to say. Lewis Steele said any movement on Luis Diaz could free up resources for the Reds to complete a sensational swoop for one-away Newcastle striker Alexander Isak. Next up, Craig Hope, who's the Daily Mail North East correspondent that covers all things Newcastle up there. He said, so do I think Alexander Isak will join Liverpool this summer? I'm not going to sit on the fence, and I'm happy to be wrong. Do I think he will go, yes or no? Yes, I think he probably will. And again, he covers Newcastle up there, and he's got no vested interest to make Newcastle look like they're going to sell. But that's the honest feeling at the minute is the player wants to move. And what we're hearing publicly isn't all of the story around Isak. There's been broken promises, at least accused, behind the scenes, of promises of a better contract for him that never materialised. Telefootball say Liverpool would not even need to sell a player, never mind their women's team or a hotel to sail through PSR, even if they were to sign Isak for Newcastle's £150 million asking price. It's a really tough situation for a lot of people because they have to look on at what we're doing and just kind of take it. because they can't accuse it of being petrodollars. They can't accuse it of being dodgy financing. They just have to accept it because the way the club has been run. And nobody ever denied that FSG ran the club well, but it was the lack of investment in the squad that pissed off the likes of me. But now that we're seeing that investment in a big way, everything that comes before makes some sense. And I'm very grateful for it. But like in any journalist story you read, ask yourself what the motivation is, who's briefing them, what side of the debate they're on, and do we think... Like, I've spoken to journalists who struggle with this internally. They know the club are telling them something that's probably a little bit bullshit, but, you know, they want to toe the company line because in one way they want to help our club because they're, you know, journalists covering that patch, and they certainly don't want us to look desperate. So I can point you 50 examples of journalists that have said something and the exact opposite has happened. So, yeah, let's wait and see. Roger said, a year ago I was FSG out, now I'm in love with John. Look, my stance on FSG is very well known, Roger. And what I've been surprised by in the last week is the amount of people who've reached out to my, likes of myself and Mo Chatra to say thank you for putting the pressure on, because they feel like it's made a difference. I haven't got a clue if it did or not, but I've always been honest and say, this is what I want to happen. If this happens, I'll be a happy camper. And we've been incredible this summer. And for me not to be a very happy and proud Liverpool fan, you'd have to question my motivation there, right? Jack said, I completely trust your word after the first three, mate. Thank you, bro. Now, look, I'm not going to tell you who that defender is going to be, Jack, because I don't know. But it will happen. And trust me, if it doesn't, for whatever reason, and it will, but just in case it doesn't, I'll be the very first person here complaining about it, mate, because we need it badly. Not our fault. We had a manager who turned 35 million players into 100 million pound players. So all the talk about league is rigged from big clubs is nonsense. So I think you're aiming that comment at True Geordie from earlier on. Now, I'm a friend of Brian's, and I have nothing but good things to say about Brian. So I'm not going to be going in on True Geordie because I think he's a wonderful fella. But we all have our own clubs to look out for. And obviously Brian's a Newcastle fan, and Brian's going to want the best for Newcastle. So I expect some frustrations. I get it. You know, I grew up having to listen to United fans bragging every 5 minutes and me sitting there hoping. But Newcastle are a club that are going in the right direction, and they're going. I hope their fans can see that maybe a bit of short-term pain might come good in the longer term. I love how you say trust the process, and we do, and are proven right. Say trust the process to Arsenal fan and watch their eyes start to twitch. So, for me, it took a long time to believe there was a process there, Ian. But this summer, all of my dreams as a fan are being answered. Everything that I would hope we did after winning the league is happening. And I think if anybody doesn't revisit their previous stances, you have an agenda at that point. So all I ever wanted was ambitious owners. And the first thing I said after we won the league was, I hope we don't sit on our hands again. I hope we go out and strengthen from a position of strength. And my goodness, they're doing that more than I ever expected. And as soon as we signed Florian Wirtz, I knew that was it. I knew the summer meant business at that point, because that was only a signing that could be made if the player was convinced that he was joining in an incredibly ambitious club who want to win and win now. And I love that. John said, oops, I meant pro leagues. All good, John. All good, my man. All good. The legend, who's an Arsenal fan, said, was having a convo with a United fan who said Gyökeres was being disloyal to his relationship with Amorim by coming to Arsenal, which I find hilarious. So, it's a weird... I get the conversation, because Victor Gyökeres is on the record as saying, and his agent, that Ruben Amorim was the reason he went to Sporting Lisbon. So I do understand the point of the United fan, but trying to be a neutral here. If I'm a number 9 and I have a phone call from Manchester United now and a phone call from Arsenal now, I would be out of my mind not to join Arsenal. Out of my mind. Champions League football, a club that are within touching distance of some major honours, and a club whose fan base have been screaming out for a centre forward. And you know, if you go in there and hit the ground running with 20 in a season, you're going to be a god very quickly. So I don't get that. These players don't get to the top without determination and wanting to win the biggest prizes. So it's the no-brainer for Gyökeres to go to Arsenal over Manchester United at this moment in time. It really is. You know, unless Gyökeres, like Mbeumo, grew up with a United shirt on his back as a fan, you know, what else is there to tempt him at this point? Because United are, well, they're all over the shop, aren't they? Skikairo, any updates on the ISAK situation? Hate being on X. Yeah, I'll take you through them all in a second, mate. I just want to make one little announcement. So, I've been racking my brain for the last few weeks trying to figure out how we can help Joe to raise the money for his wheelchair. And what a lot of people suggest is go do a charity stream on X. But what I hate about that is people giving over money and a huge chunk of that being taken out by Google or YouTube. It feels wrong, particularly if you're doing it for charity. So I'm still working on another way to raise the money. But what I am going to do to help push it forward a bit is my last show in Liverpool, this show that we're doing at the Hot Water Comedy Club, 19th of October. Every penny that was due to our side of it, so Anfield Agenda, I'm going to donate all the ticket sale money from my side to the wheelchair fund for Joe to try and push it on a little bit. And I'm going to try continue to think of ways to get Joe up to the £7,000 that we need. I think he's at about just under £3,000 at the minute. And we donated all the ticket sales from the last show to the fund that was in Liverpool for the victims of the crash. And for this, it feels the same thing. I feel like I don't do these shows for money. It's never been about money. I do these shows to connect with people and to say thank you. That's why we keep the ticket price as cheap as we can. So what we're going to do, as I said, is any money I raise, we're going to send over to Joe and try to figure out a way then to get the rest over to him, because what he's doing is incredible. And to have his own struggles in life and still be there to help other people and youth through sport, I think it's the very type of thing that I would want to get behind. So yeah, just wanted to quickly update on that one. And hopefully people, if they are coming along, know that the money raised is going to be going to a very good cause. We're going to do the double, said Rusba. Premier League and Champions League this year. Oh, it's not out of the question, dude. It's not out of the question. It would be very arrogant of me to say that we're going to do it. But it's very possible. And I'm certainly going into the season feeling like what you're saying isn't mad. You know, it is really possible. And how cool is that to say? Craig, did you play GAA as a kid, whether it was hurling or football? I played GAA football, yes. Only through schools, really. Played a little bit with Crokes, but only through schools. Played all the way through from primary school right the way through till 6th year in secondary school, but never played hurling. Russ said, had some tough times, this community keeps me going. Thank you, Russ, and you've been around a long time, 29 months as a member, and I remember you even before that, mate, so thank you so much for your support. Right, I want to keep going with the news because more stories to go through. Let's talk about this piece here from Florian Plettenberg that said, Newcastle and Benjamin Sesko's camp are in concrete talks, but still no verbal agreement. RB Leipzig are demanding at least €80 million, but so far haven't received any bids. Now, I'm a little bit confused on what's going on with Luis Diaz and Bayern Munich, because Plettenberg said this morning that a €65 million bid was sent to Liverpool, but other reports today suggest that Liverpool are waiting for a bid and that Liverpool, of course, have a number. And if the €65 million bid has gone in, one question for Bayern Munich: why are you wasting everybody's time? Because it ain't going to get it done. And putting the pressure on Liverpool here and trying to cry poor mouth for Luis Diaz wages is not going to get it done. And journalists briefing the media about how low he's on ain't going to get it done. So to all of these clubs, if you want to come and buy a player from Liverpool, just get to the number and stop dicking about. Stop wasting your time, their time, talking to them, selling them the vision, if you're not going to back it up with a feasible offer. Say what you want about Liverpool, but they're going in and paying what's being asked, or at least negotiating to the sale price in a relatively quick term. Some of these clubs, like Napoli, are just taking the piss. And Bayern Munich have the money. If they want Luis Diaz that badly, then stop dragging this out, stop wasting his time, and just get to the number or piss off and go buy somebody else. That's as simple as it is, really. Because Diaz wants to move. There's no denying that at this point. But he wants to move for one reason and one reason only, to line his pockets because he wants more money, which is sound. But Liverpool have to get what they need. And if Bayern Munich are dicking about, they're only wasting their own time. That really winds me up this summer. Because Napoli did it. We heard for ages. So many Romano updates. Darwin sold on the vision. Darwin loves the plan at Napoli. Antonio Conte pitched it to Darwin and Darwin basically had a semi. But they didn't come up with the money. So that's weeks wasted. Absolutely weeks wasted. For their own business and for us. If you want Diaz, here's the thing. Liverpool believe, rightly or wrongly, that the price was set when Saudi Arabia were willing to pay €100 million for Bruno Fernandes. Now, I'm not saying you have to agree with this, but in Liverpool's mind, Liverpool see the valuation for a footballer around that age with the achievements that Diaz has had at that price. So about £80 to £85 million. Now, I'm not saying a deal won't be done for £75 million, but this dicking about with offers of 61 million for your second offer, it's not even going to get an answer other than stop wasting our time. Right, Ugo Ekitike, speaking about joining Liverpool, said, I think this was the right moment. I came to the Bundesliga hungry. I wanted to show I'm a good player and I can make the difference on the pitch. I think I did well last season. Now I feel ready to make a bigger step and to play in the highest level, to improve myself, to see what I can do. That's why I think it's the right time for me and the perfect moment to come here. So another report now said Darwin Núñez has concrete chances to leave Liverpool in the next few weeks. Because again, we've known that money was going to come in on an offer from Saudi. Now look, again, I'm not trying to say that the valuation Liverpool have of €100 million on Diaz is a fair valuation. But they also know that that's what was on offer for Bruno Fernandes, who's a year older, maybe 2 years older actually, and hasn't won as much. I'm not saying Diaz is a better player than Bruno Fernandes, but I'm saying Liverpool have looked at that in the same way in Chelsea's mind. They valued Nicholas Jackson at an obscene number because Liverpool have just signed Ugo Ekitike. These clubs all have their own way of determining a value of a player. We don't have to agree with them, but that's where Liverpool's mind has always been at with Diaz. Ben Jacobs said Darwin Núñez remains an option for Al Hilal. Internal talks are taking place over whether to approach Liverpool. Key input from Simeone and Inzaghi first. Hilal will certainly sign the new striker. Liverpool valuation informed by a €70 million offer turned down in January from Al Nassr. Carl said, I get the feeling Liverpool will turn Mamardashvili into the world's best goalkeeper. Trust me, working with Ali will only make him so much better. So I agree, he's going to be a very good goalkeeper. And every time I hear Georgi Mamardashvili speaking, I love what he says. You know, I love that he has that desire to want to be the best. And it didn't daunt him coming into Liverpool with Alisson Becker still there. Because let's be honest, it'd be a pretty intimidating thing to come in and train every day with, in my opinion, one of the best 3 goalkeepers in world football. But I like that he's backed himself to do it. And that's the type of personality and confidence you need to come and play for a club like Liverpool. Ekitike gets 20 goals this season, I'm 100% sure, said Wally Hack. I don't know. I haven't even thought about numbers in my mind for Ugo Ekitike yet. But sorry, just to come back, I want to do a poll on what I asked a few minutes ago. So, how do I word this? Okay. So, if we sign ISAK, do we have enough attackers? Is the question I'm going to ask. Because remember, Chiesa is probably going to go, DIAZ is probably going to go, Darwin's going to go, and obviously Diogo was a situation that nobody could have planned for. But we'll be 4 out, and my question is, will 2 in be enough, even if you allow for the fact that Chiesa didn't really contribute much in terms of minutes last season, and young Rio was an option? So I want to know, do you think 2 in is enough, or would you still be expecting maybe a young winger to come in, somebody like Malik Fofana, or maybe you're absolutely sold on the idea of Rodrigo? I don't know. I don't know what's possible, but I want to know what you're thinking, because I'm on the fence about it. I think we could still do it one wider player, but ultimately I'm not going to really complain if we go into next season with Gakpo, young Rio, ISAK, let's say, or somebody else, Ekitike, Salah. You could argue we're probably still one short, but what's this one? Sorry, this one. I rarely go against you, Craig, but in terms of Bayern and DIAZ, we'd be doing the same, like how we won't be paying 150 for ISAK. But I don't really think it is the same, because we haven't been putting in bids. And I promise you, if it gets to the point where Newcastle are ready for us to put a bid in for ISAK, it won't go on this long. And it won't go on as long as the Darwin-Napoli fiasco went on for. Let's be honest, we all knew Napoli were going to cheap out in the long run and not put the money down, or look for a loan with an obligation or an option. So I don't think we are doing the same, because this will be Bayern's second offer, and their second offer has gone up, what, €7.5 million? From the first offer that wasn't even met with a number, it was just, no, he's not for sale. So I disagree. Bayern are taking the piss, and again, it's their own summer and time that they're wasting. They've lost out on many, many targets already. Florian Wirtz and many others. They've lost out on Nico Williams, who stayed at Bilbao. So, genuinely, I think Liverpool are relaxed if Diaz stays. And I understand why. Why wouldn't we be? Craig, in these dark times we're living in, you keep me from losing faith in humanity. Bravo, you lovely man. Mate, I think it's the bare minimum I can do. You guys have given me an opportunity to do this for a living, to give me a future for my family, and I think that people that need help that we can give to in our community, it's the very least I think we should do. I think I've got an obligation to do that, because it's the right thing to do. Sorry, this one from Mateo. If we get ISAK, does that mean Chiesa plays left wing with Diaz going? No, Chiesa's getting sold because he wants to go back to Italy and play in the World Cup. And I don't understand how people don't see that straight away. Like, ISAK didn't go on the ISAK on the brain. Chiesa didn't go on the pre-season tour because he's going to be sold. So it's just going to be a matter of, I think Atalanta are waiting to try and sell Ademola Lookman before they can maybe come with an option. But Chiesa won't be here. Darwin won't be here. Diaz, I can't say for certain that he won't be here, but, that'll depend on what Bayern Munich come to do. But, yeah, we are definitely going to sell Darwin unless, well, I'm not even going to say unless a bid doesn't come, because it will. So we're going to sell Darwin, we're going to sell Chiesa, and if Diaz price is reached by Bayern, we'll probably sell him. Do you think we'll ever get another Keane Vieira rivalry? Good question. Yeah, I'd imagine so. Well, we've already got Haaland and Lewis Skelly. But yeah, I think we will. It's hard not to when you've got driven people and machismo and egos in football, It's always going to be some tasty little exchanges. And you know what, mate? I love it. Ryan said, sorry I'm late, what have I missed? Nothing too dramatic, dude. We're just talking about the possibility of the situation with ISAK. I do feel Newcastle are slowly coming around to selling him personally. And there was something really interesting I read earlier on the video that I actually never gave much thought to until I read this. But, where is it? Sorry, I'm just trying to get the right one. Because there was a really interesting post. Where is it? So, this one. ISAK could be sold to Al Hilal for £150 million and Newcastle would enjoy the cash. But, under UEFA rules, they'd be disallowed from booking any profit on the books, thus doing nothing to improve their ability to remain compliant on the European stage. So, just wanted to talk about that for a second because obviously that was Newcastle's fans' holy grail and hope here, was that Al Hilal or somebody would come in, Newcastle would sell him to Saudi, and then Liverpool will be out of the equation. And yes, they can do that. But like this gentleman has said, Carl Weatherspoon, I think it is, or C. Weatherspoon, there's no way that Newcastle will be able to book that then as profit with UEFA FFP rules. So still would leave them outside of the criteria that would keep them compliant with UEFA regulations. So I never really gave that much consideration until I'd seen that post earlier on Anfield Edition. According to Sky Germany, Munich have submitted an offer for 59 million. Yeah, I went through this earlier on. Plettenberg said it. Plettenberg said it this morning. Here. So Florian Plettenberg said, exclusive, Bayern have submitted their new offer to Liverpool worth more than €67.5 million, which is about the £59 million. The lads at Transfer Room mentioned. Talks between the clubs are ongoing. As reported, DIAZ wants to join Bayern and is waiting for an agreement between the clubs. But I don't think €67.5 million is going to get it done for Newcastle, or for Bayern, sorry. So Craig Hope of the Daily Mail again said Liverpool are said to be preparing an offer for ISAK and we understand that a move to Anfield is his preference. Sources claim the Premier League champions would have the funds to do a deal, especially if one of Luis Diaz or Darwin Nunez is sold. Several of the squad have discussed the striker situation in the past 48 hours after we revealed his desire to explore a transfer away from St James's Park. Some feel his exit is increasingly likely. There is a feeling here in Singapore that a package in the region of £150 million could see movement on a transfer that would rank as the highest and biggest in world football this summer. So, and remember, he's the Daily Mail correspondent for the Newcastle area, basically. And he's saying, basically, that's getting to a point where it looks like Newcastle are going to have to spend or sell for 150. Do I think we get to 150? No, I don't. I don't think Liverpool will pay £150 million, but that's just based off a guess, not on any inside information. So it looks like Lucas Paqueta is set to be cleared of FA spot fixing charges, according to the Times. Martin Ziegler just posted that. Thank you, Mark, send it on to me. Story with Matt Lawton, I believe, as well. So looks like he's going to be cleared of that spot fixing. Now, I wonder if he's cleared of it. I wonder will he take a case against the Premier League, because that cost him a move to Manchester City. He was going to move there. City had a deal pretty much agreed, and I think pulled out of it because these charges came to public interest. So let's wait and see what happens with that one. Alexander Isak has been told he can earn £600,000 a week if he accepts Al Hilal's offer. However, Liverpool are the front runners to sign him, said Matt Barlow, I think, of the Daily Mail as well. Am I wrong, or were they willing to pay more money for Napoli striker? Am I wrong in that? I'm sure I seen that Victor Osimhen was going to get about 800 grand a week if he was going to move over. So 600 grand for Isak seems very, very low in that regard. Where are we? This one. No more attackers needed. Wirtz can play left. Frimpong can play on the right. We need central defenders. I really don't understand why so many Liverpool fans have their underwear in a twist over the centre-back situation. And we're going to sort it. It's going to happen. Like, it's not going to be that we just buy some attackers and not fill the gap left by Jarell Kwanzaa. It's going to happen. And we do need attackers because Wirtz wasn't brought in to play left. Wirtz was brought in to play in the number 10 role. Was told that's the role. Was sold the vision of how we can link up play. So I think, I'm not saying you're wrong about not needing more attackers, but I think we're cutting it close if we just brought in one more, in my opinion. Attacker needed, Salah at AFCON, another injury bad. You can't sign a player to cover 6 weeks, though. That would just be madness. And I think, guessing, the plan's going to be when Salah's away, Frimpong plays on the right, or Szoboszlai plays on the right. That's my guess at it, but you're not going to sign a player just to cover for 6 weeks. That would just be madness. Right, so let's look at the poll. So we said, if we sign ISAK, do we have enough attackers? Yes, no, or unsure. I still don't think we do, but it'll be interesting. Rio, Gakpo, for this argument, Ekitike, ISAK, Salah. Am I missing somebody? I think that's light. Personally, I think that's a little bit light. Frimpong, of course, can cover on the right, but we're thinking of him as a right back. Elliott, going to move on most likely, although if he stays, perhaps that's another option. What's this one? This one from Carl. If you compare someone, ISAK, to another player, who would it be? And if he did sign, how many goals will he score if you put your neck on the line for us? So how many goals he'll score would depend on, of course, fitness, how many times he's played. I would dare to say 30 goals in all competitions if he comes to us. I think that's fair. I think that would be a very reasonable thing to guess at. And compare him to somebody, I don't know. Don't know is the honest answer. Ask me that after I've watched them play in a Liverpool shirt for about 3 months, and I'll probably have a better answer, Carl. Gomez assisted by Wirtz this year, says you'll never walk alone. 986. As long as Joe Gomez scores this year, dude, I don't mind who assists them, but it'd be lovely to get that goal, wouldn't it? Don't forget, by the way, we play tomorrow morning, so we'll be live from midday for the watch along of the AC Milan game, taking them on in Hong Kong. So we'll be live from 12 o'clock for that one if you want to come and join us for the watch along. Martin Lawrence said, still wary of FSG, but we've seen Anfield expanded, new training centre, won 2 Premier Leagues and a Champions League, 3 League Cups and an FA Cup and a World Cup, and now this window caps it all. So I'm definitely softening up on my stance after this window, because my big gripes with them, some of them they can't change. So the Super League, there's nothing that they can do to change that. You know, they tried to sign us up for it. But there's also nothing more they can do than apologise at this point. So kind of have to let that one go, although it's always in the back of your mind. The good stuff, like you said, Martin, can't argue with that. Training ground, any road end, main stand, in and around Anfield, new club shop. Can't argue about any of that stuff. Buying back Melwood for the women's team as well. Can't argue about that. I think the only other battle you come into then as a fan is maybe the over-commercialisation of things a little bit and the cost of going to games at Anfield. But I guess there has to be that balancing act that any owners, regardless of whether it's FSC or anybody else, would have to have. And my gripe mainly was ambition. I want to see them act like a big club. And Billy Hogan came out and said the other day that that's what we are doing. So to me right now, I have very little to complain about from an ownership perspective. And I've always tried to be honest about why I was upset, why I was angry. Just like I'm now happy to say I'm a very content Liverpool fan with what we're doing. You know, that's the fairest I think I can be with it. Patrick said, Craig, where is your integrity? It's probably buried somewhere in your question, mate. What integrity? So firstly, Patrick, who I don't know from Adam, bro, do you think you get to question my integrity when you don't know me, for a start? Now, I haven't got a clue what you're talking about, dude, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt to answer, but my integrity, I think, has been more than proven by my charitable work, by me looking after people in our community, on and off camera, by the fact that we don't flog you shit every 5 minutes, by the fact that we're not behind the paywall. I think my integrity has been pretty clear and transparent for all to see. I'm an open book, nothing to hide, and I'm here every day, warts and all. So if you want to question my integrity, motherfucker, then you best have something to question or shut the fuck up, because you're irrelevant to me as a human being. I don't know you, don't know who you are, but I'm quite confident in my integrity and who I am, sir. I don't need your approval. Connor, thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Hey, Craig, hope you're doing well. I would be happy if Doak can take his chance. He's still only 19. I just don't think he's going to get that chance, in all honesty. But I've no problem with that at all. Yeah, I've no problem with that at all. I think he's worth having a look at. But, you know, what I've always heard was that the plan was for him to be sold. Unless that changes. So, but look, again, these are our players. I want our players to do well. I can only tell you what I know, what I've been told. And the plan, as I've always known it, was for him to be sold. So I'm still waiting for our friend to come back in with his integrity question. If I missed it, somebody let me know it, because I really haven't got a Scooby what he's talking about. This one. Carlos said, hi Craig, hope you're well. Do you think if we get ISAK, we'll be playing with two up top? No. I think we'll either see Ugo Ekitike slightly left or a little bit behind. I don't think we'll go something like a 4-4-2 as an example. I think one will be, maybe we'll play with two in behind ISAK. That could be Wirtz and Ekitike, let's say. But tactical flexibility is another really important part of all of this as well, and why we're bringing in players that are able to play in multi positions. Yeah, sorry, I've waited around long enough. I still can't see the dude's question, but I haven't got a clue. Again, I don't get these questions. My integrity, I think if there's one thing that's not up for debate, it's my integrity. Of all the people that make content and do this, I think I'm the most open, approachable, interacting, and I would say one of the better people to do it as well as a human being. When you're footballer, player rich, the extra 400k doesn't matter compared to winning trophies. I don't think ISAK will care about the money at this stage. Well, there's a couple of things, right? It's huge money that's on offer in Saudi. There's no denying that. But to this point in his career, he hasn't exactly been laden in silverware, ISAK, has he? You know, he's just had a good season with Newcastle, won a League Cup, which is, I genuinely was happy for their fans, even though we lost. But, you know, if any club was going to beat us and win a trophy, I'm genuinely glad it was those fans, because they're good people. But he hasn't had the silverware. And as you said, he's going to be a multi-millionaire many, many, many times over. And if he comes to a club like Liverpool, he's probably going to make upwards of 300 grand a week, when bonuses and whatever is on top of that. So that's what, 15 million quid a year before tax. On top of that, the commercial opportunities that he'll get being at a club like Liverpool as well will increase. So yeah, these guys are going to be very, very wealthy. And if I'm ISAK, I'm thinking, well, those moves to Saudi or whoever are still going to be there at 29, 30, 31. when you go for your pension pot, whether it's the MLS or whether you go for money. At that point of your career, maybe you look at money. But these guys are driven by winning. And I think ISAK wants to win the biggest prizes in Europe, and I hope we can help him do that. ISAK knows his chance to win the Ballon d'Ors with us. Again, that's a good point. But is he wasting his time, though? Because we know Trent wants the Ballon d'Or. So, is ISAK and Wirtz wasting their time when it's just going to be Trent winning it for the next 5 years? Connor Gorman says, Nunez doesn't sell or DIAZ. Do you think we ISAK? I don't know where you're going with that one, Connor. I think we sell both of Nunez and DIAZ, but if one was to stay from that group, Connor, I think maybe that's where you're going with the question. It would be far more likely to be DIAZ than Darwin. Darwin's gone. So there is a world where maybe DIAZ stays. That's absolutely potentially possible if Bayern don't get to the number, but I guess the question is, has it gone too far with DIAZ at this point? And that's not a question that I can answer alone. I think every Liverpool fan will have their own thought processes on it. I'm at the point now with DIAZ where it's getting to the point where he's winding me up, because it's clear he's angling for a move away for money. And it's not like he's gone to Barca, which was always his dream club. A little bit different here when money seems to be the motivating factor, because anything Bayern Munich can win, Liverpool can absolutely win. League title. Who's a better chance of winning the Champions League? I'd argue we do. So I don't think he's been driven by ambition at this point, and that makes me care a little bit less what happens with him, to be honest. Now, I'm not trying to run him out of the club or anything, but if someone doesn't want to be here, for me, I'd always hope that there's a way that guy can move on. Ain't sounding safe if we only go with Wirtz, Dom, Mo, Cody, ISAK, Hugo, Doak and Rio for Cup 60 games, including buffer for possible injuries. I don't think Doak will be around. Rio will be around, I think. Look, Ibrahim, I can see the concern, mate. Like I've said, that's why I posed the question earlier. I feel like we may still be a body short, but what I don't know is if we were to get ISAK, let's just say, for argument's sake, we got ISAK and we sold Darwin and we sold DIAZ and we sold Chiesa. Is there a world where we go in for another young attacker? Like, let's use Fofana as the example. On the face of it, about 60 million euro for the transfer fee. Maybe you knock it down to 55. But the transfer fee, I don't think, is going to be the important part. I think it's the wages. The transfer fee for Rodrigo, let's say 85, 90 million euro, that's doable. But if he wants, let's say, 250, 300,000 pound a week, well, you could nearly get the likes of a Fofana on a 4 or 5 year deal for the cost of Rodrigo for 1 year. And that's why I think that could be more possible for Liverpool, even with a big outlay for ISAK. I just don't know what the club's plan is there. Nevlin said, FSG outstanding. No complaints from me. Up John. Carl said, ISAK is being compared as Henry. Hope they're right. I don't like the comparisons to anybody because, each player has their own attributes. Like, how many new Steven Gerrards have we heard about? Let's just see what happens. If he comes in, I think we all know we're going to get a good player if he becomes a Liverpool player. I'm intrigued to see what happens if he doesn't come in, what Liverpool's thought process is there, how late in the window we leave it. Because if we get to a point again where DIAZ and Darwin are sold, you can't see Liverpool, if they don't get ISAK, just not bringing in anybody else, because we definitely would be short at that point. This one, right? We're going past it, so we'll say 62% of people said yes. If we sign ISAK and if we sign Ekitike, we have enough. And I thank you for everyone that took part in that poll. I'd probably still be in the unsure category, I think. Cancelled. Said, get ISAK, but we need another winger if DIAZ goes. I probably agree, but I would measure my expectations about what type of winger that would be. I wouldn't be expecting a Rodrigo. Peter Byrne said ISAK will be twice the player if he comes to Liverpool. Sakoa F plays said, do you think Ekitike will play tomorrow? So there has been some chatter that he'd be involved. I was reading some of the stuff from some of the journalists that are over in Hong Kong. Maybe see a few minutes at the very end, perhaps, but I don't really know what to expect because it really has been a whirlwind last week for Ugo Ekitike, going straight over very late into the training camp over there in Hong Kong. Yes, he would have done a bit of work with the team now. Not sure where his fitness is at, not sure how much work he's done with Frankfurt already. So I think it'll come down to if Arne thinks he's ready to get some minutes without maybe taking a risk on an injury or something. This one. So, Barl Badai said, if we sign ISAK and Gay, best Premier League transfer window ever? Oh, dude, yes. For me, yes. Now, of course, I'm biased as a Liverpool fan, but I don't think any window can compare to that. Chelsea 0-4 was a crazy window, but I think this might have the edge. Love the show. Thank you so much, mate. I would agree with you. I think this is the best transfer window in the history of football if we get ISAK, which is a huge claim to make, but I think it's fair. Look at it. If we bring in ISAK, Ekitike, Wirtz, Kirkes, Frimpong, Georgi Mamadashvili, Pekci, I mean, am I forgetting somebody there? That's a damn impressive window for me. And I'd be looking at 2 potential Ballon d'Or winners brought in my eyes. I think Wirtz and ISAK are potential Ballon d'Or winners. Sorry my message didn't make sense, but the question was, if we didn't sell NUNEZ or DIAZ, if ISAK's still on the cards. Yeah, I think if we didn't sell either, maybe not. But I do think at least one of those sales frees up enough wiggle room for Liverpool to move for ISAK. And the situation with DIAZ is just going to come down to Bayern Munich, whether they come up with an offer that Liverpool accept or not. And they seem to be very slowly creeping up. But let's wait and see. All right, here's a mad question for a bit of fun. Right, let's go with this just for a bit of fun. Keep one. So one of these two has to stay at the club. Who are you picking? Are you going to take Darwin or are you going to take DIAZ? Let me know in the chat. You've got to keep one. Which one are you keeping? And I know you probably want to know who else is coming in, and I get that. But just for shits and giggles, let me know. Stevie boy, and thank you, mate, for all of your support. Always love to see your messages in the morning as well. Well, I say morning for you, bro, over in Australia. Does Canade sign his contract? I could be setting myself up for pain here, dude, but I'm going to say yes. And again, I don't know anything you don't know. But I'm feeling more optimistic on it as the days have gone by. I don't know why. Maybe I'm setting myself up for pain, but I do. I think he stays. That's my guess at it, but it is a guess. Evening, Craig. Finished printing. We'll send out on Monday. Nice. So Mark in the chat there. Mark does some little figurines or busts. I'm probably doing him a disservice here. And he emailed me yesterday and asked me would I like a Diogo Jota one that he's doing and selling, and 20% of the sales of that go to the charitable fund set up in Diogo's memory. So yeah, I will show you them when they arrive. I'm getting an Arne Slot one and I'm getting one for Diogo Jota. And thank you, Mark, as well, for reaching out, mate. Appreciate you. And I will, of course, put them on display and put your link in when they come. This one. Keith said, if we get ISAK, I would expect us to win the Premier League title. Oh, dude, yeah. You know, the expectations are high. There's no denying that. You can't spend what we've spent and not have those burdens on your shoulders. But these are good headaches to have and good expectations. So, yeah. Do you know what I said to Connor, though, earlier on? I'm looking forward to, regular viewers of the channel will know, every time we concede a goal, you get the flood-ins. So I'm sure it happens on every fan channel. But every time Liverpool concede, everybody comes in to say, haha, you're losing to X and Y. That's going to be multiplied by 10 this year. When, if we draw a game, people are like, how could you draw a game with £500 million spent? The standards and the level is going to be insane that we're held to by opposition fans. We're going to be, realistic about what we're doing, but I can't wait for that this season. I love when they come in, we go 1 down, then we win 3-1 and they all disappear. It's one of my favourite things. You can watch it and see the spikes as well when you watch the streams back. Toon fans want Saudi to come for ISAK. The problem with that, Neil, is it won't do them much good. And this isn't my words, bro. This was some post that I'd seen earlier on that makes a load of sense. I'll read it out to you now. It's this one. So Anfield Edition posted this and they credited @C Weatherspoon. So ISAK could be sold to Al Hilal for £150 million and Newcastle would enjoy the cash. But under UEFA rules, they'd be disallowed from booking any profit on the transaction, thus doing nothing to improve their ability to remain compliant on the European stage. So whatever about internal Premier League PSR, they wouldn't be able to book that as profit because their owners are 75% owners of most of them teams, I think, in the larger or the bigger end of the Saudi Pro League. So, yeah, they'd have the money, but they wouldn't be able to go and spend it and still go into the Champions League without having to make the numbers add up. They could do it in the Prem probably, but not in the Champions League or in Europe. So that was something that when it caught my eye this morning, I thought, oh, hello, that's interesting. That sheds a bit of light on it. Aaron, how are we, dude? If we're going for ISAK and sell Elliott, Darwin, Chiesa and Diaz, we need 2 attackers unless Slot thinks young Rio's ready for the big time. Then I feel we still need somebody to back Salah on the right and sign Cresswell. So I get the feeling Rio's ready. Or at least I get the feeling Arne believes Rio's ready. Because there's been no talk of loans and everything is pointing to how impressed that not just the manager and the coaches have been, but his teammates have been by his performances. So there's been glowing praise for him and Trey Neone from the training camp. So I do think Rio's going to be given a chance. And you know what? I love it. I absolutely love that he's going to get a chance. I've said this for years. My favourite thing in football is a young, pacey, fearless winger that just takes people on and makes them shit themselves. It's a joy to watch, to sit back and watch. Like, look, tell me your heart doesn't sing watching Lamine Yamal play football. Every time the dude gets the ball, you're just going, go on, do something. Make us, put us in the back of our seats, put us back down on the floor. And he does. And I can't wait to see Rio. Not saying he's going to get to Lamine Yamal levels, but I can't wait to see that fearlessness again. Like Sterling is a great shout, Gabriel. Yeah, he was amazing. You could see him coming through with the under-18s and the FA Cup and all, and you just think, there's no doubt in my mind that Raheem Sterling's going to be a good player, and there's no doubt in my mind that when we see Rio, we're going to love him. We're going to absolutely love him. Blue Blur. Do you know what's funny, mate? That's what your name there, Blue Blur. Obviously, it's from Sonic, but that's what we call our car because we've got a blue car, and we always name our car every time we get a car. And the new one's called Blue Blur. So every time I see your name, it makes me smile. You said, I'm hoping for our 4 winger options will be Salah, Gakpo, Rodrigo, and Rio for this coming season, and ISAK and Ekitike are our striker options, and also left side option for Ekitike as well. I would say in there. Lewis Noble, thank you, bro. Love this channel. What a summer. Top man, Craig. Appreciate you, Lewis. Thank you so much, mate, for your kind words. Let's have a hoodie. Thank you for the money, John. So the problem with that isn't that I wouldn't do it, Carl. The problem with that is that we had an awful time with the merch supplier that we had the last time, which is why we stopped selling everything, because they were shocking and people were waiting way too long and it was pissing us off. So I don't have no problem doing it, mate, you know? No problem at all. I can take the piss out of myself, no problem. And thank you for the money. Certainly feels like something I've no problem saying. Right, let's keep going. Elmir, how are we, sir? Lovely to see you in. Do you know what? Can I say something to you, mate? And I don't know if you'll get this reference, but every time I see your good self come in, I think it's Michael Ramsey, the Irish guy, because your picture from where I'm sitting, it's very kind of similar in the outline. Now, obviously, I can't see it up close, but every time I see it, it makes me smile because I think about my friend, the Irish guy, who I think is a great content creator. So DIAZ, NUNEZ, and Chiesa won. I see our front line being ISAK, Mo, Ekitike, Gakpo, Rio. Don't forget, Slot said having a smaller squad, and if Kanade stays, there won't be another centre back. Robbo/Endo will cover. I really do think there'll be another centre back. Honestly, mate, I don't for 1 second think that if Kanate stays, we're not bringing in a young centre back. I'll go a bit further. I'll be upset, and I know that sounds mental, but it would be madness going into a season with 3 centre backs. And yes, you've mentioned some options, and Nallo could be another one, but we can't do that. We need another centre back because centre backs pick up knocks. We're going to play 60, 65 games. You know, Virgil's bulletproof, but he ain't getting any younger. I'd be upset if we didn't bring in another centre back at that point. And it feels really horrible to say that because the window's been incredible, but we would definitely be leaving ourselves short. And I've not had a conversation or seen anything to suggest that we won't bring in another centre back. What's with PSG 21-22 better transfer window? No, I don't think so. I'm gathering that's the window where they brought in some like the likes. I don't know who they brought in, but either way, I'm thinking of the Messis, of the Neymars. And none of that shit worked for them, so I don't think it can be really seen as an incredible window. What's worked for them is, you know, the young, hungry players mixed with some quality players like Dembele, who's had a very good season, injury free. But it's the hunger and desire that Luis Enrique has got into those young players that, again, that fearlessness that I've spoken about is what really stood out to me when I've watched PSG this season. Kelly, how are we? Always lovely to see you, my friend. Evening, young Craig. How's Mr. Chirpy, cheeky chappy tonight? Looking forward to watching the game tomorrow. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Kelly. Like your good self, looking forward to the game tomorrow. Can't wait to see the boys out there on the pitch again. Also now know we're only 7 days away from the Adidas stuff going live. And I'm really excited about that. But I'm good. Yeah, good, Kelly. And I hope things are good with you as well. Joy said Doué is so good. Yeah, he's brilliant. I remember when he came off the bench against us at Anfield, I was like, oh, let's wait and see. And within 2 minutes of me on the pitch, I was like, oh shit, this kid's really good. This kid's really good. He's a really good player. That PSG team is genuinely very, very, very impressive. And I can see why Arno was so complimentary. He's created something brilliant there, Luis Enrique. And they had a really shaky start to that process as well. I think they lost to Newcastle in the Champions League season before. But my God, he turned it around. Sam said, I up Craig, if you had to guess who would be a more influential signing at a Frimpong and Kirkes, who would you pick? Kirkes. I'm going to say Kirkes. And I'm probably going to say Kirkes because I'm not 100% sure exactly how we're going to see Frimpong and when we're going to see him, and will he play every week, and will Bradley be the backup, or so I'm going to have to say, just off the way I know he's going to be utilised, Kirkes. But brilliant signings, both of them. And again, the pace on display. What impresses me most about Kirkes is his what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Is his anaerobic ability. Like, because he was a swimmer when he was young, you can see an incredible level of fitness, even with oxygen levels low. Like, he just strikes me as having an incredible engine and battery and lung capacity, and I find him very, very impressive as an athlete. Oh God, we're still having to play this bullshit. Right, so the Times have said Newcastle target £70 million Sesko, but insist ISAK isn't for sale. Interest in the RB Leipzig forward comes amid star striker's contract impasse as clubs say they only want to strengthen the Champions League campaign. Yeah, cool story, but let's wait and see what happens, because whatever else does happen at this point, Isak's told him he wants to go. Newcastle are going to have to pony up a shitload of money to keep him, and I just don't think they're going to be able to appease him longer term. So Anfield sector have put up something that Connor has described as a very good summary, so I'm going to read it out to you. Patience is definitely going to be required when it comes to Alexander Isak, in my opinion. It won't be a 1, 2, 3 day situation. It's likely gone on for at least a couple of weeks with several moving parts. Liverpool need to create the space in the squad and free up some finances to reinvest back into the deal. Enter Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez. Newcastle, first and foremost, will not acknowledge Isak is for sale, while Osula is their only available striker. Reinforcements are needed. If Newcastle can agree a deal for Visa and get a green light from Leipzig for Seshko, then we may see them open the door to a sale. If that door opens, expect Richard Hughes at the other side, with difficult negotiations clearly expected if it gets to that stage. I think, again, credit Anfield sector, they've pretty much nailed that one, and I don't disagree with anything that they've said. It isn't going to be a 1, 2 day thing. I agree with that. Newcastle do have to go out there and look, let's look at it from an optics perspective from Newcastle. If they're telling the world that they're looking at Sesko because they're going to sell Isak, what's going to happen? The negotiation's going to become infinitely harder, because the selling club are going to know that they have a load of dough that they're going to be coming into. So the answer has to be to publicly say over and over and over and over again, players not for sale, players not for sale, because you want as good a stance in these negotiations going into buy a player as you can possibly have. And the only way you have that strength is by saying, well, no, we're bringing in Seshko because we want him to play as well as Isak. So I agree, and that's what they should be doing. From a PR perspective, they have to be seen to be strong. Right, so we did ask, keep one, keep voting away on it. Said, if we had to keep one this window, who would you keep? Diaz or Darwin? Keep voting away on it. What's predictions for Liverpool next season, said Keith. So I'm going to say my prediction is that we retain the Premier League. And after that, I don't really feel comfortable in any other predictions just yet, because I don't think anybody can predict they're going to win the Champions League with any level of confidence, because there's so many variables involved in that. But I think with the squad we've assembled, the knowledge Arna now has of the Premier League, I think it's fair to say retaining the Premier League title is within our grasp, and the consistency over the 38-game season, I think, will have a good chance to finish top of that pile. So that's where I am at the minute, Keith. But anything is possible. Like, do I think it's out of the realms of possibility to be talking about the double next season? No. I think it's absolutely possible that we could win the Champions League and the Premier League. Sam said, agreed, Kirkes' quality at such a young age. Oh, it's just every time I watch him, just that is it aerobic levels or anaerobic? I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use, but his engine's incredible. Bayern will surely agree a deal for Diaz next week. At this point, look, you feel like it's the common sense outcome, isn't it? But I don't know at which point Liverpool start to soften their stance, because Liverpool's stance is he's not for sale. Do I believe that stance is genuine? No. I think there's a number there, and I think Liverpool not wanting to enter into these negotiations to extend Diaz kind of tells us that. But they still want the deal to be right for them, and I also think that Liverpool will be happy to let Diaz see out his 2 years because he performed very well last season. I can't tell you why we aren't willing to up his wages that much. I don't know. David said, do you think we sign ISAK? I'm going to just keep giving you the same answer. I'm sorry, it's the honest one. I think if he leaves Newcastle, we sign him. But I think it would be remiss of me to say there isn't a world where he might stay at Newcastle. There is. And I don't think any of us can be that arrogant to say it's a done deal that he's coming to Liverpool. But I'd be amazed if he leaves Newcastle and it isn't to us. Tim from Wales, how are we, Tim? Said, I love how we've bought chemistry this window, not just talent. Hungary, Netherlands and Bayern. Yeah, nothing wrong with those relationships, like you've said, mate. Good bunch of lads. They look like they're having great fun every time you see these videos or inside training or whatever. And I tell you what a character Frimpong is. He just seems like one big bundle of positivity and good energy, doesn't he? I'd love, if I was a coach, to have him in and around. Apart from the fact that he's a damn good footballer, he seems like an absolute gem of a lad as well. But then again, most of our boys do. And I'm very proud that we can look at our team not just as great players, but as good human beings. That makes me really proud. And that standard's been set, of course, by the likes of Jurgen and Arne and the way that the club operate. It's cool. It's really cool. And said, we badly need a centre-back. We can't go through a season with Gomez at centre-back if Canade goes. I agree, but I'm relaxed because I really believe we get one, mate. For what it's worth, I don't know if you mean we can't go through a season with Gomez as centre-back because you don't think Gomez is good enough at centre-back or because you're worried maybe about the injuries. For me, I wouldn't really have too many worries about him as a player, although I do think a weakness Joe has for me at centre-back is what's behind him. Sometimes I feel like he's not looking over his shoulder enough, which is why I've felt more comfortable with him in a full-back position where I don't think that's as big a problem. But he's a very good defender, and I'm a Joe Gomez fan. But I agree with you on the numbers. Is a new centre-back not the top list over ISAK? It's up there, but I don't think Liverpool are prioritising the transfers based off what's necessary. I think they're prioritising them based off when was the right time to do these deals. So would we have signed Ekitike if Newcastle and others hadn't make that play? I don't know. We would have signed him, sorry, but I don't know if we would have signed him right now or if maybe we would have waited till we tried to move on Darwin or Diaz. And I feel like Newcastle's interest along with others maybe did push us along a little bit more. So there's no denying we need a centre-back, mate, but I think the club will have that in hand. The good Kev said, Craig, it's been a long time since we've had such a strong bench and it doesn't weaken the team. We almost have 2 first team, which is insane. We have to be looking at least 2 cups next season. LFC said, is there any chance we play 2 up top? I can never say no, but I think it's more likely it will be 1 up top with 1 in behind, or 1 up top, if we're talking about ISAK and Ekitike, with 1 to the left. That would be my guess, but who knows what Arne has up his sleeve with regards to formations, because all we know is last year Arne came in, didn't really get too many new signings in, maybe didn't want to overly change things throughout that first season. He wanted to build on what Jurgen did and throw in some of his own little twists, but I'm expecting a change this season from Arne, not necessarily in the formation, although I do think we'll see one there, but in the style and the way that we build up play, I think we'll be a lot less direct perhaps than we have been in other seasons. Remember when we discussed about Delap and a loan of John Duran? Well, now we're about to get ISAK and Ekitike. Yeah, it feels insane to even be having the conversation about this being possible, Itachi, but I mean this when I say this. I'm really relaxed whatever happens with ISAK. I'm not gonna throw my toys out of the pram if we don't sign ISAK in this window at all. It'd be great, but to me right now, with what we've done, if we brought in another winger, let's say Fofana, Rodrigo, or somebody else, I'd be delighted. ISAK would be the cherry on the nipple. It would be the absolute amazing, best possible scenario. But am I going to be angry at the club if it doesn't happen? No, not at all. Because I totally understand why it wouldn't happen. You know, we can only do what we can do. And it wouldn't be from a lack of trying to get ISAK. So, yeah, I'm really, really, really calm about it all. Bradley is not but far behind for Frimpong. I can't see both staying until their 30s. I wonder, Jack, I'm kind of thinking out loud here a little bit. I wonder, is there a world where one of them occasionally gets used at left back? I wonder. Because Bradley's really good, but not finished, has injury concerns. Frimpong, the questions we have is, can he adapt to a more defensive-minded right-back position, or is he more of a wing-back? So I wonder if we're going to see a world where perhaps one of them covers on either side as well, as of course Robertson, and if Costas moves on, then he won't be here. But yeah, I've been wondering about that as well, because there was a lot of positive talk about Bradley at the end of last season when he signed that new contract, and that he was assured that he was going to have opportunities at right back. So I can only assume that the club will be as good as the word on that. Joey, how are we, dude? Well done on your success. Great channel. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Look, any success we've had have been because of the support we've had from people like yourself, mate, and a bit of luck along the way as well. But yeah, very grateful to be in the position we're in at the minute, and even more grateful to be looking at the season ahead with excitement the way we're stacking up the squad this summer. Adrian said, if we got all targets and we won the quadruple, do you think we would have to be considered the best side ever? I think you can say yes in English football, but I think it would be unfair of us to say it in world football because PSG just did something similar. But if we won the quad in English football, yes. That's to be the best season of any team in English football because nobody's ever done it. For me, when you have an argument about what's the better achievement, the invincible season or the Manchester City 100+ point season, I'm saying it's the Manchester City one. Because ultimately, they won more games of football, they put more points on the board. And to me, that's a bigger achievement than going unbeaten because they put more points on the board. But if we won the quad, yet nobody could say a damn thing other than greatest team in the history of English football. At least the greatest season in the history of English football. Itachi said, when do you think we make a bid for ISAK? I don't think we make a bid until we feel that Newcastle are receptive to a bid. And by that, I don't mean I think our first bid gets accepted, but I mean, I don't think Liverpool are going to go down the route of just haphazardly throwing in a bid to try to move the situation along. I think the relationship between Eddie Howe and Richard Hughes will probably be a factor in this, and respect will certainly be shown, although Newcastle fans may argue they don't think we are being respectful. I think, for what it's worth, we are. I think there were far more invasive ways to go about transfers. Look at the likes of Madrid and stuff. So I think if we make a bid, I think it happens. Because I don't think we bid unless we get the green light. That they're receptive to it. Now, like I said, I don't say the first bid works, but I don't think we make a bid if we don't think the deal's going to happen. Who stays, mate? Robbo or Costas? So I suppose both my answers are probably the same. I was going to say I can give you what I think, but Robbo for me, because you've brought in the young Robbo heir. With all due respect to Costas, who has improved, I still don't think he's good enough to be the guy. And I think Owen Beck getting another loan now, that was confirmed today, and he also signed a new contract. So I'm having to think that the future is going to be Kirkes and the backup. So I think one more year of Robertson, maybe an extension for another year after that. And I think we sell Costas. That's my guess. I had to read this out before I actually said it. This is a horrible transfer window. How can you say it's the best ever? It's bad enough now, but it'll be even worse adding ISAK. How will I be able to populate my fantasy team when I'm only allowed 3 reds? I'm already having that problem, dude. Looking at my fantasy team the other day when I was putting it together, like your good self, I'm thinking, which 3? How do I only have 3 Liverpool players in it? Now, some of my friends would argue, don't ever put 3 people from the same club in a fantasy team, but I'm with you, mate. I look at our players and go, there's points to be had there. Loads and loads and loads of them. So, yes, very good point, my friend. David, lovely to see you, bro. Appreciate you dropping in with your kindness to the community as always, sir. Adam said, great video of Mo earlier, very interesting. Hopefully more in the future. In terms of ISAK, I'm 80% sure he comes. Also, hopefully on tour, Darwin performs well to attract more interest. So, on the video, thank you. Also, again, want to thank our friends at Anfield Index for making it possible, because Mo does work with Anfield Index and is on their Money Talks podcast. So, very kind of them to allow Mo to come on for a chat. And yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Adam. I learned a lot listening to Mo. I think he's not only a very nice fella, but a very well researched guy in what he's talking about. Obviously comes from a finance background as well. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. Sam said, we're all so excited to see what's next to come, signings-wise, but the impact we're going to have just from Wirtz, Kirkes and Frimpong alone is enough for me. This window is a fever dream. Can't wait. Yeah, it is. And like you've said, I'm excited to see what happens this season. And because anything's possible. Anything. I want to see Wirtz tomorrow. I can't wait. You know, I don't like getting up this early because, you know me, folks, I sleep weird hours. I only go to bed about 7 a.m. But, yeah, excited. And we will be here from 12 o'clock. Have we seen the best from DIAZ? It depends how you want to answer it. I think we've seen DIAZ get to a level that's really good. I think he's probably come off the back of maybe his best season for us. But what I think he's lacked is consistency of performance. So the way I always ask myself this question is, do I think he's lived up to Sadio Mane? And the answer to that's no, not for me. So in that sense, that's why I'm relaxed about maybe selling him, because I don't think we've seen him get close to Mane, in my opinion. And maybe people disagree with that, but for me, if I was to look back, if he left tomorrow and I was to look back at both of their time at the club, I wouldn't hold him in anywhere near the same regard of a player as I would Sadio. David said, love the show. What you doing for the wheelchair fund? Racing show, the person you are. Thank you, David. It was a no-brainer, to be honest, mate. Once I had the idea, I just thought it's the right thing to do, because I say this all the time. When I do these shows, the only reason I do them, and this sounds a bit arrogant, is to say thank you and meet people who've made our channel what it is. And that's the only reason I've ever done these live shows. It's never been a moneymaker, because if I was to do it for money, I'd be doing it a different way. And we've always kept the tickets as cheap as we can. And this time I just thought, you know, Connor's not going to be with me for the show. So I just thought, well, I have a bit of scope now to push my own narrative on it, which was that I want to give the money. up to help Joe with the wheelchair. So, you know, I just want to make sure we get him to that $7,000. And I don't think the ticket sales alone are going to do it. But, you know, if anybody does want to come and see us, you can get your tickets with a QR code there on the screen. About 45% of them now gone. October 19th, Hot Water Comedy Club, £15 a ticket, last ever live show. And it's the weekend of the Manchester United game. And all the money from our ticket side will be going to Joe's wheelchair fund to try and raise that $7,000 to get him that wheelchair basketball chair. Keith said, I'm greedy and I want ISAK, Rodrigo and Gay. Nothing wrong with being greedy, Keith. Nothing wrong with being greedy, dude. It's just hard to know what's possible in this landscape, isn't it? Because, like I said, if I said 9 months ago we'd be sitting here now talking about the signings we've already made, I think we'd all be thinking we're mad. Blue Blur, so what are your thoughts on Adam Wharton being happy to wait till next summer to join us? Sky Sports Transfer News page reported a few days ago. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I didn't follow Wharton all that much last season, but I think he had an injury at some point. And just look at what's happening with Palace now. So they haven't made many signings, and they're going to lose more players. They lose Mark Gay. They may lose Eze. They've already lost the likes of Elise previously. I don't think they'd be receptive to an offer for Adam Wharton this summer. So I think it's probably right to wait a bit longer. Craig, did you get an Oasis ticket? I didn't, Tig. No, I didn't. I don't think I'm alone in not being able to get one either, mate. But no, didn't get one. Say la vie, that's life. Itachi said, I love Liverpool, love Anfield Agenda, I love Craig, love the transfer window. What a time, up the Reds. I love it. I love it. Craig, what time are you going to sleep? Tonight, I'll probably get some sleep from about 7 till about 11, probably, and then I'll be up for the game. How confident are you we get ISAK now? So I'm not confident that Newcastle will sell him. That I don't know about, but I'm confident that if he leaves Newcastle, we're the team he joins. But, you know, it is still in Newcastle's hands. He's a Newcastle player. They'll have the final say on whether he's sold or not. So the fairest I can be is if he leaves Newcastle, I think he joins us. Right, so we asked you to pick one to keep, DIAZ or Darwin. 74% of over 2,500 people have voted said that they would keep Luis Diaz over Darwin Nunez, and I would absolutely be in that 73% as well. Craig, is ISAK a bigger, better signing than Wirtz? Not for me, no. I would put Wirtz as a more important signing, but that's just one man's opinion. I'm not trying to say I'm absolutely right, but for me, Wirtz is incredible, and that is a really big get for us. Andy, how are we? Andy Dean, thank you, mate. You said, been a supporter for over 40 years and can't remember being this excited for a season to start. The anticipation is killing me. Yep, it feels like it's been a very, very long summer. But the good news, I guess, is we're not too far away from at least the Community Shield. So we've got 2 games coming up this weekend and then Wednesday. Then, of course, we've got the Bilbao game coming up. And then the double header with Bilbao coming up, and then we're into the Community Shield. So not too much longer to go, Andy. But yeah, it feels like watching them more over the next few weeks is going to be cool. Right, folks, I'm going to go record the late night update video. But just to, I guess, reiterate for tomorrow, we will be live from 12 p.m. for the watch-along of the game against AC Milan. We won't be doing the match reaction and stuff. We don't really do them for pre-season friendlies, but I'll also be live tomorrow night again for the late night agenda at about 8:30. So the night I'm going to have off this week is Sunday, because remember last week I was supposed to go for dinner, but it was kicked down the road. So we're going to go this Sunday. So we'll be here tomorrow for the game and for a late night agenda, but no stream Sunday night. Love you all to bits. Thank you so much for another great night. Drop a like for us before you head off. And yeah, much love. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.